So my next not my interview, my next topic or subject is going to be about something we all love. Well, not all of us love it, but I hope most of us do. Is about food. Me, myself, I'm a big fan of food. I love food from different countries, and England has also rich history when it comes to food. So for this topic, I'm going to do the same as I did in during the previous topics. I'm going to do a short introduction, the people I interviewed, the interview questions again. I will do a short reflection of this aspect of culture, reflection on interview experience, and reflection on language development over the course of the interviews. So I will start with food. The English culture is also very rich when it comes to food, not only music, as I was mentioning during the previous video. For instance, Sunday roast. It has many influence from other countries, the English cuisine, but it also has its own cuisine. Well, to find out what British people most like, I interviewed 5 people that lived or live in England for more than 10 years. The people I interviewed were Tony again, Janice, Sarah, Lewis. Lewis is Sarah's son, and Marriott. Well, in order to do these interviews, I had to think about questions to ask. So the questions I asked were, are you a food lover, to start with? Because, well, if you're not, then I'm not going to ask many questions. So are you a food lover? Do you like eating? What about English food? What can you tell me about English food? So I just wanted to know maybe new dishes that I don't know. What is your favorite dish and why? Where can you buy it? I also want to know where I can buy it. So if I am ever in England or even in Holland and I would like to try something, I want to know where to buy it. Do you know how to make it yourself? Explain. Well, the reason I ask this is because I like cooking myself. So maybe if someone makes it themselves, I can learn, or maybe they can teach me. Is English food your favorite, or do you also like other cuisines? So those were my questions. So I'm now going to reflect and conclude about this aspect of culture. Well, it is a fact that most people are fond of good food, right? So from all the interviews I had, they were all food lovers. In England, there are many varieties to be found due to colonization and immigration, especially in London and Birmingham, Manchester, in big cities. The English integrated this in a way that they eat and therefore have many types of food to choose from. Although there are many dishes to be found in England, like chicken korma, Sunday roast, and fish and chips, they do remain the main dishes in England. An example of why these dishes are so popular could be explained by 2 people I interviewed, Lewis and Tony again. Well, Tony mentions that his favourite dish remains curry and that he eats it every week. Lewis, on the other hand, prefers fish and chips. I didn't ask why, because sometimes you cannot explain why you like something. So I thought I'm not going to ask that question. However, this doesn't mean that people who live in Britain all prefer dishes mentioned above, like chicken, korma, curry, Sunday roast, and fish and chips. Sarah, for example, prefers every dish as long as it includes pasta. She likes carbonara and mainly bolognese, spaghetti bolognese. Marriott, the other girl I interviewed, or lady, sorry, also prefers pizza to a traditional English dish. She says she could eat pizzas every day. I wouldn't. In conclusion, England, although England has a very traditional cuisine, it does not mean that the whole population prefer it to exotic cuisines. Pasta, for example, is very popular amongst the English, and burgers as well, as Lewis also mentioned. Although he likes fish and chips, he also likes burgers. And burgers are not English, they're actually German, American. Yes. Well, to reflect on this interview experience, well, before doing this interview, I had the idea that British people mostly ate traditional food, because why did I think this way? Because when you go on holiday in Spain or in Portugal or any other countries, you always see English people eating English breakfast. So my idea of the British people is that they always eat fish and chips and English breakfast all day, and not to mention tea with milk. I think this has to do, yeah, like I was saying, because you see it on when they're on holiday. But this is not the case, because Sarah, for example, mentioned that she's never eaten English. Well, she never eats English breakfast. She only eats tea. She only drinks tea and eats cereals. Yeah. So besides learning about eating habits of the people I interviewed, I also enjoyed interviewing them about this topic. It gave me more ideas about different types of cuisines. Well, including the British one, as I will explain in my reflection of development of language. Well, because of the interviews were carried out on the same people, it became easier to communicate with them. Although the topics were different. Well, to be honest, I do not know if my language improved a great deal, but there were words I learned throughout this interview. So, such as, for example, scones. These are little cakes. I've never heard of them, to be honest. Shepherd's pie. Well, I had an idea of what it was, but I didn't know what it was. To me, it was unknown, and shepherd's pie as well. It consists mince and mashed potato topped with cheese. Apparently, I want to taste that definitely. I think it's tasty. Yes. So this was my presentation about food. I hope you liked it. I would advise anyone to try English food, because it has a lot of variety. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next presentation.